It's time to get the breakdown started. 1, 2, 3, first up, 10 observations.
Mr. Good guy and just boom, put it right on the ground.
It's first and 10.
All right, observation number 1. Anthony, do we have the numbers and everything? Dang. All right, we'll pick up the numbers with number 2 and get all fancy with it. But number 1, most importantly, a win is a win is a win is a win. And the bantying about style points is somewhat ridiculous. One, some of y'all are telling on yourselves because you're like so disappointed in Sam Howell or in this thing or that thing for not being perfect. And it's like some of y'all just forgot how week 1 worked, and some of y'all completely underestimated what the issues that Sam Howell is going to have this season as a young quarterback. He showed a lot. We'll get to it in a second. But at the end of the day, if you're style pointing the actual victory, and I don't know what you're doing. They all count, and this is a very week-to-week league. It is matchup dependent. It is, form dependent. It is dependent on a lot of different things. And ultimately, getting the actual W in the column that it belongs in and upping your place in the standings where the Washington Commanders and their ugly, hideous, if you will, win over the league worst Arizona Cardinals and the Dallas Cowboys 40-0 shellacking of a playoff team from last year and the New York Giants count the same. And it's important to keep that in mind. I can't believe I have to remind people, but watching the discourse after the game made me think that it perhaps is something that needed to happen. A win is a win is a win is a win, and you don't start down 14-0 next week because you won this one ugly. Was it great? Absolutely not. From a performance standpoint, does the process need to be better if they're going to win against teams that aren't Arizona? Yes. But there's only so mad you should be about a win because it's a win, and you start anew going into next week. Another reminder for number 2.
Number 2.
Football games are 60 minutes long, and it is always hilarious to me to watch with Twitter up or a social media app up because the freaking out that happens, snap in and snap out, is just overzealous, fandom. And, this is the kind of thing that happened. It's a lack of objectivity. It is completely irrational and emotional. And in many ways, that's what makes sports great. But I wanted to underscore this, the emotional roller coaster that this team is going to put fans on this year, in an effort to, 1, provide some analysis, but 2, maybe let you protect yourself a little bit emotionally as you watch these games. This Commanders team is different than any Washington team that you have seen for most of you in your lifetime, for some of you in 30 years. Just depends on whether you're old enough to remember the bad Washington football franchise. This team is in shape. This team is fit. This team is going to do stuff late in games that they have not done in the past. The wait for them to slip on the banana peel is not going to come, I'm not going to say ever, but it's not going to come with the regularity because this team is built to wear teams down and do their thing late in games. It's one thing to compete with someone for a half, a quarter, or whatever. It's another to do it for a full 60 minutes. And this team showed yesterday that it's built for 60 minutes and that Eric Bieniemy, the way he manages a game, is for the 60 minutes. Again, the turnovers, all that kind of stuff, we'll get to it. But it's not coincidence that at the end of that game, Washington was able to run the football down Arizona's throats. It wasn't just all of a sudden that they tried, that there was more attempts, and perhaps there should have been more running earlier in the game. But when it got late, Arizona was exhausted from chasing them around all game. And Washington was still at its peak performance. And when there's degradation in the opponent and you're still at your peak, that is how you dominate in the NFL. Same thing on the other side of the ball. Arizona wasn't up for it. And Washington's relentlessness just kept coming. Montez Sweat, if you are just dog-tired, blocking him, who when he's in this kind of shape, is a nightmare. Same thing with Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne. They just keep coming. And so, yes, there are elite players on that side of the ball, and we'll talk about some of their performances as we go through our final 8 points here in our 1st and 10. But by and large, I think that we have to think about games a little bit differently now than we have before. This isn't a team that's going to hold on for dear life at the end. This is a team that's going to try to impose its will for 60 minutes, and my guess is over the last quarter, on a more often than not basis, they will. How the first 3 quarters go will, of course, impact their ability to do that and what that looks like. But, I think people need to kind of adjust their expectations. We talked about it all preseason long, and I don't think people fully internalized what that meant for this team to be more fit, to be more in shape, to play with the tempo that it does. It wears you down. It's like if anyone's ever seen the Kipchoge challenge, right? Eliud Kipchoge is the world record holder in the marathon. And the Kipchoge challenge is how long can you run at his pace? Most people couldn't make it a lap around a track because it's like barely over a minute for a quarter mile. It's just over 4-minute mile pace. But if the race is only 40 meters or 100 meters long, there's a lot of people that look like they're in as good a shape as Eliud Kipchoge. You do 60 seconds of it, and you get almost a full quarter mile, and a lot of people that are still left. And there's no one that can do the marathon at that pace. And I'm not saying this Commanders team is, the best ever in terms of conditioning, but they're on the upper echelon of this league, and that is going to matter when they try to force teams to keep up with them over the course of 60 minutes, over the course of 4 quarters. All right, to the quarterback in number 3.
Number 3.
Sam Howell is who I thought he was. I'm going to say that again. Sam Howell is who I thought he was, which is a promising young quarterback who's going to show great poise, who's going to show flashes, but is not fully ready for the big time yet. I think there will be moments this year, and even full games, where he's incredible. He'll have a 300-yard game this year. He'll have a 3-touchdown, no-pick game probably. But week in, week out, I think it's a lot more likely to look like this. You see the poise. It never got too big for him. He never got happy feet. Did he make some bad decisions? Yes. Did he, not see some things? Yes. But he's got to know where to look, and he's got to get some game experience, and he's got to adjust to the speed of a real regular season game in a way that he just hasn't played very many yet. Now 2. And, how much do you want to count that Dallas game with no real pressure in it last year, and Dallas not seemingly fully engaged? What you're going to see is hopefully cleaning up of some of the silly mistakes, some of the things that are pretty easy to clean up, and then him get confused at times, him struggle with protections at times, him miss throws at times, and over time, those things happening less and less. For instance, the sack fumble that is a touchdown for Arizona. The sack there, I think, is on Andrew Wiley. He just loses. I think he's expecting help from the back. He doesn't get it. It affects how he sets. He ultimately loses. At the end of the day, you got to win that as your right tackle. But that's not Sam's blind side. He saw it happen. He saw it coming. You got to feel that. You got to see that. And you've just got to go. We are in the shadow of our own end zone. I believe it was a 3rd down even. We're about to punt. Just punt. Be okay. Being okay with punting is an essential quarterback survival skill in the NFL. And I don't think Sam Howell's okay enough with punting yet. And there's something admirable about that because he always thinks he can make a play. And there are moments when that never say die attitude will help him. But managing it is key to surviving in the NFL, and especially on a team where the defense is this good. Understanding you can't expose the football like that is essential. Just go down. Just eat it. And there are other times, obviously, as Ron talked about today in his press conference, he's going to have to learn to be a survivor on the running stuff too. You can't take a bunch of hits. And, the one on the sideline's a dirty hit. There's nothing really he can do about that. Hey, Kaiser White, how about you don't be a dirty player? That'd be sweet. It's a ridiculous hit. There was another hit later on the sideline that I thought was a little, when he slid, that was a little cheap. And there's a clip going around where like the Arizona defender then puts, like he makes like a sandwich with his legs out of Sam Howell's head and like slams it to the ground. It's very bizarre. Like, I don't know what they're doing over there in Arizona, but little cheap, a little dirty, or a lot cheap and a lot dirty in case of the Kaiser White hit, which should have been an ejection. But point is, like, don't expose yourself if you're Howell to some of these hits. Just get down easy, pop back up, on to the next play, throw the ball away. Or when you are going to get hit, you are going to get sacked, by all means, protect the football. These are the things that he can learn quickly. Some of the other stuff is going to take time. But I think it's imperative for everyone's mental sanity, and if you want to be smart about the game, to realize that if you just thought Sam, because he's got a good arm and great poise and speaks well at the podium and shows the demeanor of a starting quarterback, is going to go out there and crush it, you haven't been paying attention to the NFL, because this is really hard. It's really, really, really hard, and there's going to be a process, and it's going to involve some patience if you want him to ultimately develop into that A-level starter that he has the physical talent to be able to be. All right, on to the rest of the offense.
Number 4.
This actually works out well because you know who number 4 is? Curtis Samuel, and he's my number 4. He was what I would call on schedule yesterday. I like the way they got him involved in the game. A couple of catches where he's just a regular wide receiver, a couple of screens. He didn't do a lot with them. You obviously like to see more than that, and I think you will at times. He had one carry, which I loved, and he got pretty good yardage on it. So I think Bieniemy kind of keeping tabs on his touches in a way to make sure that he gets enough of them that Curtis has the chance to make explosive plays is imperative. One thing that I'm tracking, and when I get a chance to sit down and watch the film tomorrow morning, I'll be paying closer attention to, is how Terry McLaurin was used. I do not love him only getting 4 targets. It is one game. I'm not going to freak out about it, but I am going to put a pin in it as something to watch. And, perhaps when we go back and watch the tape, we'll understand that he was targeted more, and Arizona really just made a concerted effort to make sure the ball went other places. But I tend to think that the ball in this offense goes where you design it, and I would like it to see designed to go to Terry McLaurin more often. Jahan Dotson, by the way, also on schedule for the receiving portion of it. I think he had 7 targets. That seems about right. He's going to have a monster year. And then there's this guy.
Number 5.
Logan Thomas definitely needs to play better. This is his first game healthy in a long, long time. He missed a ton of time in camp. He was really, really good in camp. And I'm hoping that with a little bit of rust knocked off, he can get back to that. But there's too many balls that hit him in the hands that wind up on the ground. Some of them were very, very tough catches. Some of them were not that tough, and he should have brought him in. But if you're going to be the tight end 1 in this offense, like, you got to be dynamic. You got to be good getting open. You got to catch the ball, and hopefully you do something with it after the catch. And Logan is tough. Logan is talented. I think he's still pretty good based off what I saw early in training camp. But if the Commanders are going to win football games, they're going to have to get more out of that tight end position because the opportunities were there, which shows you how good this offense is at getting that position open. And Travis Kelce obviously has feasted on that to a Hall of Fame career. Not that I think Logan Thomas is going to be that, because he's not Travis Kelce. But, man, that dude should be like borderline Pro Bowl level production this year because of the opportunities he's going to inherently get. And yesterday was not very inspiring in terms of the actual outcome of those opportunities. And whether that means putting Cole Turner in some of those opportunities more often, or just, I guess, you don't get them and you lose football games, those seem to be the options for the way I see it right now at the tight end position. All right, to the defense.
Number 6.
Montez Sweat is a monster. He is so good in all phases. And look, Allen had a great game. Payne had a great game as well. But for 2 years running now, when this team needs a play, Montez Sweat has been the guy to make it. And to do that at that position with such consistency is pretty remarkable. And it's going to get him paid. Like, this dude's going to make $24 million a year. And right now, that seems like a bargain if he's going to have a sack and a half every game. His ability to get pressure, and by the way, he plays the run as extremely well. He has since he was a rookie. Stout on the edge, discipline in his rushes. You can't run away from him because he's too fast. He makes plays down the field if he's given the opportunity. He'll chase guys down because he's such a freakish athlete. What a day yesterday for Montez Sweat. And it kind of really set the tone for the defense. On to number 7.
Number 7.
On the other side, those guys were not as good as Montez Sweat because they are not as talented, but they did their jobs at an exceptionally high level, and they deserve love for it. James Smith-Williams, Casey Tuhill. James specifically, who was the starter and got more snaps, the way he sets the edge and is so physical helps feed the sacks and the big plays of Daron Payne, of Montez Sweat, of John Allen, because there's nowhere to go as a quarterback. And, the easiest thing to do as a quarterback, who's right-handed, as Joshua Dobbs was and is roll to your right. You just go forward. Your eyes are still in front of you in the direction that you're going to throw. You're not looking back across your body at all. You're not trying to kind of awkwardly turn your body to throw. Ideally, you are rolling to your right. And because the way Smith-Williams rushes, where he just sets that hard edge and keeps the pocket contained, that's not an option for even a mobile quarterback like Dobbs. So what do? Okay, well, if you're going to force me up, I'm going to go up in the pocket. Well, the problem is when you face the Commanders, going up in the pocket means entering the land of Allen and Payne. You don't want to do that. And then against the run, the way he is able to string runs out and get upfield and push some outside runs to go even more horizontal, that was hugely impactful and created some tackles for loss and some very short run gains on what would have been probably some bigger plays. So just a fantastic job by James. Casey, I thought, also had some really good rushes. He kind of came in more as a third down rusher. And ironically, those guys prove their value not only with what they do, but compared to the young guys, as Andre Jones Jr. on the one big run Arizona got early in that game, he's the guy out of gap. He gets pushed out of the way, and there's a big run to the edge. It's kind of that reverse game plan run where they it's a tough gig. It's a tough job. That one's schemed up to take advantage of certain things, but Andre Jones Jr. Played it in a way that I don't think any of the other guys would have, the more veteran ones who have seen a little bit more. And as a result, it's a big gain for Arizona. So those veteran guys, we talked about why they were so important to keep, why you initially put 11 linemen on your 53. They proved it yesterday, and they're going to continue to be a big part of this team, even, I think, when Chase Young gets back, even though the snap counts will look very, very different. All right, to the layer behind them before we get to 2 more things and close out our 1st and 10.
Number 8.
The linebackers played a lot better than anticipated yesterday. I don't remember any major busts. I guess there was one with Jamin Davis up the sideline on the rail route to the running back. That's one I'm going to have to watch back on the all 50. I almost used the Ron Rivera term, the all 53. That was a wacky bit today at his press conference. What do you guys watch? The all 53? I thought you could see all of them. No, Ron, it's the all 22, the same coach's tape that you watch. What do you think that we have access to? Anyway, the point is, once we watch back the all 22, we'll get a better feel for what Jamin perhaps was supposed to do on that one play. But largely no coverage bust, and they were really good in run support. Arizona did, outside of kind of one big run, they didn't really move the ball all day. There weren't really a ton of gaps. I mean, they averaged 3.8 on the ground, but that's in large part due to that one big 29-yarder by Hollywood Brown. Next longest run on the day was 12 by James Conner. So, I mean, it's a pretty good day at the office, I think, for Cody Barton and for Jamin Davis. You could see them getting downhill with regularity. And I think that was the thing. They weren't late triggering stuff. And so that was the thing that I was really waiting to see is, are they late on whether it's play action recognition, late getting downhill to the run? And I thought they were pretty good from what I could see on the TV copy yesterday. All right, final 2 notes here for our 1st and 10.
Number 9.
Cameron Cheeseman bounced another one. I truly, honestly don't know what Ron Rivera is waiting for. You either tell him, buddy, you go back to the way you used to snap it when the ball got to Tress Way, or we're going to find someone else to do this. That you lose games that way. And I cannot fathom being an NFL head coach who has personnel control and looking at my long snapper give me a heart attack every time I send him out there and thinking, this is fine. And this is not personal to Cheeseman. I know it works really hard. He has been working really hard. I admire him for trying to get better at his craft. But eventually, there are it's not like quarterback. There aren't 32 good NFL quarterbacks on planet Earth. There's like 50 or 60 long snappers probably. Go find another one. It's why they don't get paid a lot of money. They're really, it is incredibly difficult to do, but it's not, that's only if we're talking as, mere mortal human beings. If you've been a long snapper in Division I, half of those dudes could theoretically do the job at an adequate level in the NFL. I cannot fathom having a long snapper that gives you anything other than perfect snaps with extreme regularity, and certainly not having one who gives you a bad snap every other time out, and that's what he's been this preseason. Wild.
Number 10.
Last but not least, on a much happier note, kudos to the fans. What a job yesterday turning FedEx Field into a place that was a fantastic home environment. It came through on television. As y'all know that listen to the show on Friday, I was planning on going to the game. Unfortunately, I have COVID, so I am stuck in my little home studio COVID cave and was not able to go to the game. But I'm definitely going to try to go as soon as I can, because what a raucous atmosphere. Adam Amin, who joined us on Friday, who's on the broadcast for Fox, him and Schlereth did a great job yesterday. He texted me last night. He's like, dude, that was different than I felt like I was in a different place than I was when I was here the last several years. It just was different. And whether you were there or watching on TV, it was extremely clear, certainly noticed by those who were on the field. Here was Jonathan Allen this morning on the Sports Junkies talking about what he experienced.
That was the best crowd environment at FedEx Field that I've seen in my entire career. And
whole career?
My whole career. And when the fans come out and support like that, I want to win for them. I want to play harder for them, So, like I said, we're just really happy to get them the win, give them something to go home about and have a good rest of the week until next week. And, we'll start it all over again. But, it was a really fun game for us.
Yeah. Tremendous environment. And, if this is going to be a defense-first football team, a home crowd can matter. Make that communication hard. Bring the energy when the defense is out there. Kudos to the fans. Y'all deserve to have that celebration yesterday. Deserve to be a win. And on and up from here is hopefully what we'll see.
What's up, kiddos? It's your boy Clinton Yates from ESPN. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Tell your mama I said what's up.